It's your sexy goth bad boy, King Cobra JFS, back at you with an early morning stream. I do appreciate y'all tuning in, if you do decide to tune in. There we go. I got some grape Swisher cigarillos. We're gonna pull one out of the pack. Crack open a monster, talk some gender relations. If you dislike my gender relations videos, there's the back button. I went to a bar called the Vintage Bar, and it was a nice little establishment and a nice selection of wine. But good fine morning, fellow YouTubers. I'll tell you what. So, been a while since I gothed up the nails, but there you go. Now, I identify as a heterosexual goth male. I'm straight for of-age pussy. But there are other people out there just doing their thing, you know what I'm saying? It's always weird to get someone else's perspective on things. However, I find this to be quite people are gonna judge you no matter what you do. It's just part of life, you know. It really is just part of life. But I do thank you for tuning in. Now, one of the YouTubers I follow on YouTube identifies a certain way, and I am not here to judge. I support them 100%. But we'll let them explain it, and we'll get into a nice little gender relations rant, if you will. We got a grape Swisher Sweet Cigarillo, and we got some Monster Dragon Green Tea. But no sake to go with it. That's quite alright, though. I don't really need alcohol to make a video.
Yes, I am wearing a dress. Mind blown.
So there is a YouTuber I support by the name of Morg Official, also known as Mr. Morg, and he starts off the video by putting on a dress, and then does this spew about why he does it.
I know. I'm sure this video is going to piss off a lot of people, and I'm going to lose subscribers because of it, but I don't really care.
That's the right attitude to have, to be quite honest. Now, I get bullied for being straight and wearing goth makeup. It triggers people. They look at it and they go, why? They see a straight man who paints his nails black. It drives them fucking nuts. But I'm not the only person out there just not afraid to be themselves. You know.
I know that some of you, when...
Honestly, if you're pissed off by Mr. Morg wearing a dress in 2020, then you're behind the times. You know, it's supposed to be the year for progression, but the only thing progressing is the pandemic. Okay, that was a really shitty joke. I'm sorry. Now, the cool thing about Streamlabs is that I can also go live on my YouTube while doing it. Out of all the Monster tea flavors, that Green Dragon tea is delicious. Not a sponsor. Now at this point, you going, is this a video response? What even is this? This is a mixture of things. A video response, gender relations video. If you're offended by my opinion, there's the back button. No one's sitting here forcing you to watch.
You see me wearing a dress, probably automatically think it's funny. Right? You think it's a joke, you want to laugh, but really think about why that is. I mean, if I...
To be fair, Mr. Morg, I grew up watching Looney Tunes. And, you know, you see Bugs Bunny wearing a dress, fucking with Elmer Fudd the whole episode. But he does bring up a fair point. A couple of fair points in this video, actually.
Were a woman wearing a t-shirt or something associated with being a male, it wouldn't be funny. So why is it funny, me in a male body wearing a dress? Why is that?
Again, I guess it depends on the situation, to be quite honest, but that is a fair point. If a woman shows up wearing jeans and a t-shirt, dressed very casual, nobody looks at her and says, ha 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 ha. Right now I'm currently wearing a skull t-shirt and some black denim Wranglers. Or black denim jeans and some black socks. I got my hat, my collar, the bandana underneath it. I started experimenting with my goth look and trying to combine a touch of cowboy with it just to see how it would turn out. And I think it looks cool. So, I'm not here to judge anyone by any means, you know. Quite frankly, there's too much judgment in our society.
A joke. You ever think about it? Well, it's because...
I mean, there are many reasons why it's because, but let's see what he has to say. She, he, them.
Women are treated as inferior to men. And so when someone in...
Women being treated inferior to men. Okay, this is where we get into the gender-based relations bit of the video. Yes, in some circumstances, women are treated very unfairly, and it sucks. But there are also some situations where women have the upper hand, and it's never talked about because it's all part of this ideology that our society has for women in general, which is victimization. Men are automatically expected to be tougher, stronger, etc. So when they see a man wearing a dress or what have you, it's seen as demasculating, so therefore it's seen as funny. It's a lot to take in, I know, but hear me out. What happens when we make women the universal victim and men the universal savers slash assholes? You know, you either get a Taylor Swift song talking about how all men are pieces of shit, or you get Bonnie Taylor's I Need a Hero. That's what you get. Now, people have often asked me, Cobra, what gives you the right to give advice on the dating scene? You haven't had a girlfriend in 3 years. I feel like observing what people go through, just listening, it's enough to get a bigger picture of what's going on. You go to a bar on a Friday night and a couple of girls are drinking tequila shots, and you overhear their conversation, very typically female, very typically sexist towards men. And there would be some men just scowling, listening at the conversation, like, you know what I'm saying? Before you judge these women, you have to understand you have no idea what they've been through. And the same can be said for men in that situation. I feel like when people experience shit on the dating scene, they confide in their friends for moral support. But
in a male body wears a female article of clothing, it's automatically seen as that man lowering their social status. And so it's...
To some degree, he is right. I mean, like I said earlier, I get a lot of crap for being a heterosexual goth. I'm not afraid to put on eye makeup or black nail polish. The only reason I'm avoiding eye makeup is because of eye surgery. People see that I'm not afraid to be my heterosexual goth bad boy self, and it triggers people. So to some degree, Mr. Morg is right. You get a bunch of people who are sitting there saying, this is the ideology that we expect of men, or this is the ideology we expect of women. And it creates these bonds, these stereotypes that we're doctrined by and institutionalized by. And to be fair, gender-based stereotypes ruin it for both genders, and both women and men go through this crap. But we'll get into that here in a second. Sitting back with a grape Swisher Sweet and some Monster Dragon green tea. And if you like the rants, please subscribe for more. It's greatly appreciated.
Seen as funny because it's like they're losing some of their power by...
When I was a kid, the first thing I learned about drag was Bugs Bunny fucking with Elmer Fudd the whole episode. To me, it wasn't seen as degrading or anything. It was just seen as a way to be funny. And I guess really it depends on how you're laughing at it. You know, if you're laughing at it because you're a transphobe or you're a whatever phobe, then you're a piece of shit. But if you're laughing at it because it's comical to think of, I mean, it really depends on the context of it. You think of a fart, for instance. A fart can either piss people off or make them laugh. It's much like comedy. A well-timed fart will make people laugh or make people angry. People will be in the room with their eyes watering like, But in a post-Caitlyn Jenner society, if anyone sees a man wearing a dress, it shouldn't be seen as shocking, to be honest. If it is seen as shocking, then you need to get with the times. I think it's a bit weird myself, but I certainly pass no judgment. If that's what makes you happy, you're not going out of your way to hurt people. Hey, no judgment, you know. That being said, I've gotten so much crap for being heterosexual, goth, and wearing goth makeup or painting my nails. You know, people look at that shit and go, that's weird. Guys are not supposed to do that crap. And I've gotten a lot of crap for it over the years, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit. It doesn't stop me from being my goth bad boy self. And certainly when I see other people out there who are just like, this is who they are, they're sticking with it, it makes them happy, they're not going out of their way to hurt someone by doing it, who the fuck cares? Huh? Also, I got some great news. I got PayPal situated, so now if I make over $500 a month, I can transfer it with no issue. That's most definitely what's up. A lot of people are probably wondering, will Cobra ever get his PayPal situated?
Putting on some clothing that signifies femininity.
So here's something to think about. The only thing that separates women and men really is gender, the way we're raised, and the clothing we wear. And some of the personal struggles we go through individually as men and or women. But outside of that, women and men are pretty much the same. And we'll get into that as the video progresses. Right now your minds are about to be blown because you're just like, wait, what? People are telling me that I'm just... Thank you for that. I appreciate it. We got a subscriber, I bet. Yes, we do. Roscoe, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. And people tell you that you're disrespectful to women, you know. We'll get into that because that's horse crap when people accuse you of things that aren't true. Honestly, I have mad respect for women. Some of the shit they have to go through is completely unfair, and yet they're called the fair sex. Get out of here with that.
So this world hates femininity.
The world hates femininity. Okay, this is where I disagree with Mr. Morg, respectfully, of course. The world does not hate femininity. The world hates the extremist feminazis that femininity has become. Whenever we talk about feminism, it's all over the news. These crazy colored-haired women screaming into a megaphone, fuck the patriarchy. They got their tits hanging out with this, and they took a Sharpie marker and they wrote "men are pigs" across their tits, and they're hanging out with their tits, yelling into a megaphone, screaming about what pieces of shit men are. And people are just like, yikes. Somebody has really pissed them off, and we don't know what to do. We tried calling an exorcist. We tried appeasing them with chocolate and diamonds. It did not work. My point being is that women should not have to display their breasts to make their point heard. You know, they have a voice just like any man. Because you know, some crotchety old man in Europe's going, wait a minute, there's a bunch of women standing naked downtown. Oh, and of course he doesn't have the internet, so you know what he's doing, right? He's getting his ass down to the town square. He doesn't care what the fuck they're protesting. He just wants to see some titties. But if you think that's offensive, ladies, I'm sorry, but if men tried protesting anything buck-ass naked, we would be put on the SO offendery list. We would be charged with indecent exposure. Could you imagine if men protested male rape by standing in the streets buck-ass naked with a boner? It wouldn't fly over so well now, would it? People would be grossed out. They'd be like, put your wieners away, you sick bastards. My point being is that women shouldn't have to stand naked to protest rape. You know, I get why they're doing it. They're saying that they're not afraid to be proud of their body, and that men raping them will not stop them from being ashamed of it. But at the same time, you know, your point's kind of lost when the horny bastards are showing up to see your boobs. You don't give a fuck what you're protesting. So the irony is not lost when you're screaming about what pigs men are. They're being deafened by your megaphone. Their eardrums are blown out. Talk about giving someone a blowjob. Okay, that's not funny, Cobra. Jeez. Like, oh fuck, my ears. Oh, hey, boobs. Are you staring at... And that's just it. If you're one of those radical females that protest with their tits hanging out and then you get pissed off because men stare at them, what do you expect's going to happen? If the shoe was reversed and men were doing this crap and you were actually into it and the dude had a dick that you liked the size of, ladies, you wouldn't be complaining. You'd be like, what are you protesting? Oh. And here's the best part of it. If women acknowledge they like dick, they get slut-shamed for it. If men acknowledge they like pussy, we get called simps. It didn't used to be that way, but now the playing field is kind of evened out just a bit. One might argue that if you're going to sit there and chastise men for doing stuff to please their woman regardless of getting sex, and you want to call them simps for it, ladies and gentlemen, you can use that for women too. Sluts idolizing mediocre penis. Ha ha. My point being is that people should not be chastised for having standards, let alone you're an adult and you want to wear a dress, and if society wants to judge you for it, that's their problem, dude. You know?
This world puts women on a lower pedestal than men. And just by...
Honestly, I think it depends on the situation, because when it comes to divorces... Oh, he said the D word. Women are literally able to take everything you got, or literally at least half of what you got. No questions asked. No obligations. No monthly fees. So what if the man is potentially innocent in this messy divorce situation, and the woman is just being a royal cutie united, and what would the N stand for? Nice talking to ya. Not. Okay, now some of you might get offended by that, and that's totally understandable. But,
you know, me wearing a dress, and if you think that that's funny, or probably a lot of people will think that I'm less...
Honestly, bro, I don't care if wearing a dress makes you happy. It doesn't personally bother me in any way, shape, or form. I'm progressive enough to where I'm just like, you know, you're doing your thing, man. You know?
It's credible. They'll listen to what I have to say less because I'm wearing an article of clothing relating to femininity, which just shows that women are...
No, what it shows, actually, is that extremist feminazis have ruined the feminist movement. these days, if a man tries to support women's rights, he gets labeled a pussy kisser, or he's just trying to get laid, or he doesn't mean it. But if he shows support for his own gender and not women, he gets labeled a sexist. So you have to find a healthy balance of both. And something I've noticed with women and men in general is that they pretty much complain about the same shit.
Are treated as inferior to men. Now,
Again, I think it depends on the situation. You know, there are situations where women get treated inferior, certainly, and it's horrible, dude. Makes me sick to my stomach. It plays off that notion that all men are assholes, and I hate that gender-based stereotype. Which gender-based stereotypes are a bitch, aren't they, ladies? Alright? Don't you get sick and tired of women being perceived as gold diggers and whores? Doesn't that just get really old? Well, how do you think us men feel when we're being told all you men want is sex and all you men are just pigs? Pretty much feels the exact same way. But what the fuck do I know?
this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while because I get a lot of people that ask me, how do you identify? And I identify as non-binary.
Ah! The answer to our question, why is Mr. Morg official wearing a dress? There you go. Again, no judgment, but the key differences between Mr. Morg and, say, Milo, for instance, is that Milo was being a complete dick about it, and Mr. Morg's just being casual about it. And here's the best part of it, YouTube. I make a video talking about how the crap that Milo was saying about how everyone's homophobic, racist, and or sexist, blah, blah, blah. I talk about that hate speech being ridiculous and dumb and, you know, a bit close-minded and hypocritical if you think about it, because you got someone saying you need to be more open-minded, and then they themselves are very close-minded. It's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But YouTube flagged that video and said, well, YouTube itself didn't flag it. A bunch of my trolls flagged it as hate speech. And I'm like, yeah, but how is it hate speech if I'm protesting hate speech? That's where I got confused on the issue. And YouTube eventually realized it. And they're like, yeah, you know, Cobra's got a fair point. And then, of course, I got my video privileges back. But my trolls got my monetization taken away from my channel, and I found a way to make money, so I don't care what my trolls have to say at this point.
What does that mean? Well, it means is I don't identify as male or female. Some days I feel more masculine, some days I feel more feminine, sometimes I feel like both, or neither.
Whatever floats your boat, man. You know, like I said, I'm not here to judge.
But I don't subscribe to one kind of gender binary. Now, transgender.org has a really great definition of what it means to be non-binary. It says most people, including most transgender people, are either male or female, but some people don't neatly fit into the categories of man or woman, or male or female.
And that's where I draw the line. You want to start claiming you're transracial or trans-disabled? That's no. No. Okay. You want to identify anything else outside of that? Because believe me, it's a very slippery slope before we start accepting other things, and just no. Okay, you want to identify as such, as Mr. Morg puts it, fine. But I draw the line there. You start identifying as transracial or trans disabled. No.
For example, some people have a gender that blends elements of being a man or a woman, or a gender that is different than either male or female. Some people don't identify with any gender. Some people's gender changes over time. And I think this is a very accurate and a fantastic definition of non-binary. Now,
And here's the best part of it. Back in the day, if you identified as cisgender, nobody questioned it, nobody gave you shit for it. And now that's become the anti-norm. Now it's normal to identify as something else. And this is what gets me about it. If it's not allowed to discriminate against gender, why discriminate against someone who's proudly straight or proudly male? That's what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying? The hypocrisy of it makes my head spin. You want to preach acceptance for your movement, but then you want to be intolerant of other people. That's just... Oh, but if you say that, you're a transphobe. And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Shit you not. Okay, I was at a bar drinking with my buddies, and there are these two chicks dancing with each other as inappropriately as they could. And they're sitting there making out in the corner, and everyone's just trying to ignore it. But me, on the other hand, I see two chicks making out in the corner. I'm trying not to stare, but yeah. You haven't had a girlfriend in almost 3 years, and you got two chicks making out in the corner. What are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? But the best part of it is, this one chick walked over to Darflenny, my homie, and she was telling my homie, "Hey, could you tell your friend to please quit staring?" And I was like, okay, first of all, lady, if I had a girlfriend and I was making out, the bartender would tell me to cool it on the PDA. Second of all, if you want to be treated just like the straights, that's how it's gonna go. You want to make out with your girlfriend, go home and do it. Third of all, if it were two dudes making out, honey, you'd be staring if you were in my situation. And then I pointed out that I hadn't had a girlfriend in 3 years. And she got real pissed off. And I said, you know what? If you want to talk to me like an adult, okay, come talk to me like an adult. Don't go through my friend to tell me what you said to say kind of thing. Because that shit's childish and bullshit. You know? The way I see it, if you're at a bar drinking, you're an adult, so act like it. You kidding me? Anybody who knows me knows I watch lesbian porn, so don't give me that shit. You're in a bar full of dudes drinking, making out with your girlfriend, like, clearly asking for attention, and as soon as you get it from the one guy you don't want it from, you're creeped out. Oh yeah, chicks do that crap and then call us shallow because we have standards. Yeah, we'll get into that here in a second.
I've always felt this way my whole life. I just never knew what it was
Consciously, yeah.
consciously until later on.
You know what? And that's actually the case for a lot of these people who claim certain things, you know? If you want to identify as trans, gay, straight, lesbian, whatever, okay, fine. But the second we start allowing trans disabled and transracial, no. I'm all for progression, but there's a fine line between being progressive and being racist and perverted. There's a very fine line between the two. You know, I touched base on that briefly with a recent video response I made to Sydney Watson's newest video. That was a very uncomfortable video response to make to be quite honest, but I did it because I don't give a shit if I get demonetized for saying it. Fuck chomos, fuck rapists, and fuck the bigotry in our society, man.
I was very young, I felt this way. I was always very uncomfortable hanging out with guys, and I always felt extremely uncomfortable when in certain situations.
Then again, you could feel uncomfortable with hanging out with guys for a number of reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean you're trans or non-binary or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. Attack helicopter. Eh.
They'd be like, oh, all the men, go on this side of the room and do whatever, and all the women go over here on that side of the room. And I'd always feel so incredibly uncomfortable being subject to these definitions because I knew that I didn't fit them. But being born into this society that emphasizes these gender identities.
It's not just gender identity. Society initiates gender-based stereotypes. For example, the color blue is seen as a man's color and the color pink is seen as a female color. That's just a basic example. A crude one at that, but
I felt like, perhaps that there was something wrong with me. I didn't know why I didn't fit into these categories. I honestly feel more comfortable in the, again, I don't feel either masculine nor feminine. However, I would lean towards femininity, actually. So just to give a really crude example, I would, instead of being with the guys and drinking beer and talking about sports, I would much prefer to hang out with the women, drink wine, and talk about clothes. I know that these are really stereotypical examples, and I don't want to enforce these dangerous stereotypes, but I'm just giving you this as an example because that's how the world in society at large tends to generalize things. And that's what you're taught as being normal and acceptable.
Yeah, the idea that men don't wear makeup or wear dresses or paint their nails or what have you. The idea that women, yada, 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 you get it by now. These gender-based stereotypes, if you will.
And I would always be extremely uncomfortable when I was placed in this box of having to be act a certain way or be interested in certain activities. I hated sports. I really don't like the way that guys treat each other. They have this very, they're constantly degrading each other by making.
And there we go. He said it. One of the things that sucks about being a guy is guys will degrade each other. You know what I'm saying? Toxic masculinity 101. You see a guy drinking a Steel Reserve Blue Raz, and you call him a pussy because he's drinking a girly drink, and then you give him shit for it and say, well, real men drink Budweiser or Bud Light or what have you, Or just in general, like, I've noticed that too. Like, guys will give each other shit for the beer they drink. It's like, hey, you know what? You didn't bring it, and it's being offered to you, so shut the fuck up and drink it, is my motto. Oh, it's just simple beer etiquette, man. Even if it's not your brand, someone offers you a beer, you say, hey, man, thanks for the brewski, and you drink it. Women do this crap too. You're at your book club meeting, and you're sitting there kissing the host's ass. As soon as she goes to the bathroom, you're calling her a cheap slut for the wine she buys. Okay, Cobra, calm down. But my point being, sarcastically, is women and men do this crap to each other. They put each other down. They degrade each other because secretly people are insecure with themselves. This is one of those things that women and men have in common with each other. You ever notice that men try to outdumb each other and women try to outbitch each other? Oh, geez. Men will be sitting there going, I bet you I can do stupider shit than you. Nuh-uh, yeah, watch. And the simple fact of the matter is, sometimes it's easier hanging out with chicks when you're a dude, especially if you're a good-looking dude like myself. But, you know, they're not going to judge you for drinking some flavored rum. They see you sipping on some peach rum. They're like, hey, that's cool, man, you know. My point being is that men do not like it when other men talk shit about them. Like, hey man, shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? This toxic masculine behavior that men do, where it's like, oh hey, you're drinking a bitch drink. You see a man drinking a Angry Orchard hard cider, and you call him a pussy for drinking it. It's like, what the fuck is that shit? You know, to some degree, when Mr. Morg says women are held to a lesser pedestal, he's right. Because you look at the way men treat each other in that aspect. You see you drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade. It's a tasty beverage, but because it's a flavored drink, you know what I'm saying, people are going to get pissed off and triggered by it. Like, they're so offended by the liquor you drink. It's like, dude, who the fuck are you? Okay, you know what? Seriously, like, you drink what the fuck you're gonna drink, I'll drink what the fuck I'm gonna drink, and you can fuck off. You know, that's what I'm saying. So to be fair, Mr. Morg, I see where you're coming from on this issue, but to be honest, women and men do this crap to each other and to themselves. Women are also equally as nasty towards each other. Women and men both do this crap, okay? The idea that women don't compete with each other, oh please. Don't give me that shit. Okay, women are equally as catty towards each other as men are towards each other. That's just a fact. It's this patriarchy, if you will. That's a shallow example of a word to use, but it's the truth, you know. This social concept that you have to dominate and divide and conquer, it's just human nature. People are always going to compete with each other. For example, when you're struggling to make it, but you made it pretty far, your personal goals, you're setting them, you're making them happen, but of course your dickhead neighbor has a better life than you do. They're showing off their sports car and their trophy wife, and you're sitting there going, You're struggling to find someone, but you're busting your ass to make your ends meet, and you're making it happen. So what do? Do you get jealous at your dickhead neighbor, or do you say, you know what? I'm accomplishing my goals for my life, and that making it happen for me. That's all that matters. I'll get there eventually, you know. Well, what's gonna fucking happen when your dickhead neighbor loses his trophy wife to a divorce she caused, and he's sitting there broke as shit going, man, she took my sports car and half the shit I own. This gold digging bitch. And you're sitting there, and right about that time when you see your neighbor losing his sports car to that shitty divorce, that's about the time you find yourself a woman and she's so good for you. And it's making your neighbor jealous, going, damn, bro. She's pretty hot. She's way the fuck out of your league. How the fuck did you pull that? And you look at your neighbor and go, well, because I worked my ass off for it. And your neighbor's sitting there giving you shit like, oh, be careful if you marry her, she'll take half your shit. But secretly you'll laugh with him because you'll know that, the woman you found isn't like that, is she? No. You spend time cultivating yourself as a person. So-called neighbor with his sports car, okay, he's a douchebag, right? hypothetically speaking. So he attracts douchey women. That's just how it works. You know, and that's just it. Women want to complain about the men they attract, and men want to complain about the women they attract. Think about yourself as a person and ask yourself that important question. You know, if you're attracting shitty people, then you bitch about the dating scene. Maybe it's not just them, maybe it's also you. But this idea that, oh, men are dicks to each other, so you don't like hanging out with them, and you think women are just as good, if not worse. Are you kidding me? Women are so goddamn catty towards each other, it's ridiculous. But again, that's just, arguing points.
Making these jokes, and it's very, very clear that there's these insecurities and they're trying to assert their dominance by making jokes to take the other person down. Whatever, it's just really gross. I don't like it, and I never did like it.
The thing about insecurity is it is a natural human emotion that both genders feel. You look at the episode of South Park called Insecurity as a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
So I always felt much more comfortable in feminine circles, feminine activities, but of course I wasn't fully comfortable there either. It's not like I identify as female. I would just be, if I were given a choice, I would be more apt to identify with the female sort of box that the world has created. I'm sure that I've had many, many, many feminine past lives. And one of the reasons why I want to talk about this is because this is something that needs to be normalized. I mean, the world treats people terribly when they choose anything outside of the two acceptable genders, male or female. It's
really, the world treats you like shit if you don't fit the norm, man. But that's just what I'm saying.
It's really a travesty. And it's extremely stupid when you think about it because, it's very interesting. Look how we can change our bodies to reflect how we feel inside. Now, I want you to fast forward to years in the future. At a certain point in the future, we're going to be able to change our bodies so easily that one day, perhaps we want to be masculine, and then the next we'll switch our bodies to feminine. And we'll be able to switch so easily, just like changing avatars in a video game, that the idea of fixed gender is totally going to melt away anyway. It's such a backwards idea, and to think that you were born a certain way, so this is how you have to be, regardless of how you feel. It's a really toxic idea. And just the other day, it was a couple days ago, someone that I know, I don't know them very well at all, but someone that I know who is transgender was attacked really close by to where I live, probably.
Yikes, dude. And this is where the problem with this issue can arise, is that if you have people who are being discriminated against because they are transgender, this is the arguments that a lot of these people will make, and rightfully so. If you're being discriminated against, you know what I'm saying, you'd feel the same way. That's just how it is.
About 10-15 minutes away from where I live, they were attacked in Hollywood and held at knife point. And
that's disconcerting to say the least. You'd think that Hollywood would be a bit more progressive, being as it's California, but holy shit, dude.
Guess what happened? People on the sidewalk were just filming them and laughing at them.
That is the problem with our society. I will say this. Is whenever there's trouble or drama or chaos or bullshit unfolding in front of us, do we stop and go, hey, maybe this person needs help? No, we sit there and we film it for a YouTube video just to get likes on a social media page. It's everything wrong with our society. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that unfold one too many times. Like, you see these videos on YouTube of crazy people shouting shit while they stand in the middle of the street, and instead of offering this person some kind of psychiatric help, people are sitting there filming that person going, can you believe this shit? This person's crazy. Talking about all kinds of crazy shit. And then it gets a reaction video on YouTube like 10 craziest people caught on camera. And then some random dude being like, what's up, it's your boy, and then he plugs their YouTube name, and then, yo, check out this video compilation, I found these crazy people, blah, blah, blah. And it's just another way for society to judge others. And, you know, I'm watching this Mr. Morg official video like, this is just sad. You know, and this is why I don't let my haters get to me. I see a lot of other people who do struggle with these issues, you know, and they're getting bullied for it too. They're getting bullied just like anyone else. You know, this is why I've never let my trolls get to me, is because there are people out there who struggle with their sexual identity, etc., etc., and they get bullied for it. It's horse shit, dude. You know? But then, of course, if you say you identify as straight and as male, you get crap for that too, and it's like, that's the frustrating part of it, is it doesn't matter if you're trans, gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, non-binary, what have you, you're gonna get judged for it either way you shape it. And that's the point I'm talking about, man. It's exhausting. Like, as long as you're an adult, it's consensual, and the people you're involving are adults, and it's consensual, who gives a shit? And to be fair, this is the problem with it. You know, there are extremes on anything you support. And the extremes with femininity are just as bad as the extremes with the sexist males that ruin the gender experience for men in general. These little sluts that are going around stealing people's money, just using men for sex and money, the little thwots that are giving women in general a bad name. For every one little slut, there's one little asshole that makes men look bad. Trust and believe that. And it's unfortunate, you know, because you got the sluts on one side and the assholes on the other side, and you got men and women in the middle who are decent people being corrupted by their own gender and by the opposite sex is bullshit. And nobody's sitting here going, oh hey, what do women and men have in common? Nope. You know what they are saying, YouTube? What separates us? That's the problem with racism and sexism, and just the problem with people in general. We're not focusing on what unites us, we're focusing on what separates us. So like, hey, if Mr. Morg wants to wear a dress and it makes them happy, I don't know. Like, there are people out there who get offended if you use the improper pronouns. Like, I get why they would be offended by that, but if you really stop and think about it, like, and of course the joke being, you didn't call them an attack helicopter, so now they're offended. They identify as a sparkly unicorn dragon, and you mispronounce their pronouns. Now they're pissed off and angrily bitching on Twitter about it, stuck in their fucking cell phones like a bunch of technology-obsessed zombies. But that's actually a stereotype, to be honest. You know, I mean, there's a lot of angles to cover with this discussion, so.
And the transgender individual was saying, please, she was saying, please call the police, do something. And they were just laughing, and they wouldn't do it, and they were just filming it.
Honestly, that story is really sad. Just to hear that someone in Hollywood, of all places, is being attacked for being transgender, and people are just pointing at them and laughing. Like, the people who are doing that shit are sick and twisted, picking on someone because you think they're different, when really, it's you who can't handle the differences. And that's just it. Humans naturally fear what they don't understand. This is very true for both genders. So, maybe to you, the idea of a man cutting his dick off and turning it inside out to make a fake vagina is weird to you, but to that person, it's normalized. The definition of normal does not exist. For each person's definition of normal is different. And that's something you have to keep in mind.
And incredibly, even a police car drove by, slowed down, and then she thought, oh, finally, I'm going to be rescued. And then it just kept going. So this world treats people who don't fit into the, so-called normal gender boxes. They treat them.
Well, it's not just the gender box, man. It's just people who don't fit the norm of society get treated differently. You wear sharp suits and you screw people over in the corporate world to climb that ladder. Ain't no one gonna say shit. But you're an honest, hard-working Joe, and maybe you don't fit the norm of society as far as the clothes you wear, but you're a decent person. Oh yeah, they'll give you shit for it. If I chose to wear a business suit and work for a fancy corporation, you think I'd get as much crap for my job? Probably not, but the fact that I choose to make wands and YouTube videos for a living, yes, I get crap for it, because it's not the norm. People are like, you're an adult making wands, what is this, And I quite honestly don't care what the trolls have to say.
Horribly. And so one of the reasons why that I'm making this video is because we need.
Well, think about it, YouTube. If you're struggling with these issues and you get bullied for it, and people who are supposed to be there to serve and protect are just being even worse about it, Well, think about it. In today's society, men are being raised to never hit women, to be respectful towards women, and women are being raised to think all men are just pigs. And, so it also has to do with the way your upbringing, a lot of that comes into factor as well.
To normalize this. First of all, I want to piss off the people who would find my identity is offensive. I mean, fuck you. You can unsubscribe. Please do. But I also am doing this because I know that there are so many people who are watching who feel a certain way, but they don't feel comfortable.
Do it because you want to do it. If you're doing it to piss off people, then I don't know. This video that Mr. Morg made is almost a month old, to be honest, so it's not recent. Like, I'm still going to support Mr. Morg, but I'm just making a fair point. Do it because it makes you happy, not because, you know what I'm saying, you want to piss somebody off with it. And, like, that's what it feels like anymore, is that people are just doing this crap to get attention. Now, I'm not saying Mr. Morg is doing that to get attention, but there are some people out there who do this crap to get attention, and this is certainly where the movement in general gets a bad name. There are people who use these, you know what I'm saying? This is where things becoming trendy can sort of take off in a wrong direction, you know? You got people saying that they're transgender or what have you just to get attention because it gets likes, and, you know, when there are people out there who struggle with it and it's bullshit. You know. As long as you're not infringing upon my rights as a male, I don't care. You know? You want to do your thing, then do your thing, dude, you know?
Comfortable coming out, or they don't feel, or maybe they don't even know. They didn't even know that this identity sort of existed. And I want to make this, first of all, normal. I want to, so that everyone can feel safe in expressing themselves, and so that they know that there's not something wrong with them, that it's perfectly fine and perfectly okay to feel neither masculine, neither feminine, or maybe one day or one the other. So sometimes people do ask me what are my preferred pronouns. And honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter. You can call me he, she, or they. I'm pretty much comfortable with any of those. And the only thing that I don't really like is explicitly being called a man. For example, someone might say, "Oh, you're such a handsome man." That really creeps me out. I mean, just even saying that makes me feel like it's cringy. It makes my skin crawl. But, you know, I take it, I know that people are giving me a compliment. So, you know, I'm not offended by it, by any means. You know, I know that someone's trying to be nice. And so I'm not offended. But I'm just letting you guys know, because I get this question asked a lot. You know. So really, it doesn't really matter, he, she, they. I'm comfortable with all these. But just don't be like, "Oh, what a handsome man." I don't even like saying that. It's just, no, thanks. Remember that we're all eternal minds, souls, and the mind, the soul, it has no fixed gender. It might prefer to express itself in one way or another throughout various lifetimes, but ultimately, our souls, there's no fixed gender. We just choose to express ourselves in a certain way in the dimension of space-time, just like we choose to express ourselves here today by the clothes we wear. So I really want people to understand that this reality, it's our playing ground, and we can express each other and have fun with it any way that we so will. And we need to create a safe place, an accepting environment for people to grow, learn, and understand themselves, and not have to live in fear by backwards old world thinking. And this is another reason why as well that we
Again, you know, check out Mr. Morg official if you'd like to see more of that content that he that they provide. Yeah. But here's the honesty of it, YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing of it. You want to identify as trans, straight, lesbian, whatever, you know, as long as you're not going out of your way to personally hurt someone else, who cares, you know? And it's like I said, there's a fine line between being progressive and being perverted and sexist and racist. You know what I'm saying? But I draw the line at allowing people to be transgender, you know, or non-binary, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. People who start thinking they're transracial or trans-disabled, that's no, dude. So there's nothing wrong with being progressive, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself that question, honestly. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, YouTube, thank you for watching this video, and I'll